Foundation 45 is a 501c3 nonprofit that funds counseling services for mental health, addiction, and suicide survivors. In addition to providing services, it works to break the stigma surrounding these topics. Foundation 45 recognizes that musicians, artists, and creative types are often at a higher risk for issues with mental health and addiction. The organization's goal is to serve the Dallas-Fort Worth creative community by providing free, top-tier mental health and recovery services. You can learn more about Foundation 45 at foundation45.org. Foundation 45. Live fast, die old. I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast.
So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown up? Who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're over us? Yeah.
This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, it's comedian Vinnie Corrales. Vinnie is a rising star in the Dallas-Fort Worth comedy scene. His journey into comedy began unexpectedly with an improv class he received as a birthday gift. What started out as a fun, casual experience quickly turned into a passion, leading him to try stand-up on a whim at an open mic. That one open mic changed his life and launched his career as a stand-up comedian. At night, Vinnie has become a fixture in the local comedy circuit, but by day he's a dedicated kindergarten teacher. He also hosts the highly successful Cowabunga Comedy Show every Wednesday at the Fillmore in Plano. I had a great time speaking with Vinnie, and I'm sure you'll enjoy his insights and humor just as much as I did. Here it is. Hello, we are back with the Dallas Famous Podcast. I'm in the lovely city of Plano today with our guest, Vinnie Corrales. Vinnie is mostly a comedian, right? But you also are a teacher, and you have some other interesting things in your history, I would say.
Yeah. Part-time preschool teacher. Teach preschool during the day and tell jokes at night. And
right.
It's a good gig, I don't have to set an alarm. And
it's like funny because you're not just a preschool teacher. You have been teacher of the year for
two-time teacher of the year.
How does that
kind
work?
of the Nikola Jokic of my school.
Yeah.
Well,
how do you just like the school just votes on their favorite teacher? Or?
Nah, well, so I moved to this area like from Costa Rica, in like 2013.
Okay.
And I was just doing music for the most part. And then, like as a musician, you're just kind of waiting around all day and playing at night.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, there's got to be something I can do during the day. So I just started calling like different preschools and seeing if they wanted like music classes brought to their school. And I was like at Montessori schools and, just all these other. And then I finally found this one private preschool. And I'd just go there Monday, Wednesday, Friday and have like an hour block and was doing music with, kids from like 2 to 5 years old. And then one day, very abruptly, like one of the teachers in the pre-K 4 class just quit very abruptly. Like, it was it was a scene. She, she had her boxes. She was out here. She threw a little hissy fit.
Who's coming with me?
Yeah, she was one of those things for sure. Yeah. And so they were scrambling, and the school was very new at this time. The school was only maybe like 6 months old at this time. And so they were like, oh man, what are we going to do? And so, I just read the Malcolm Gladwell book, Outliers, and they talked about being opportunistic. And I was just like, well, I could do it. And they were just like, you? And I'm like, yeah, I already got a rapport with the kids. They respect me. I know they.
Is there certification for this?
No, not for preschool.
Okay.
I mean, you just have to teach pre-K. You just have to know K. If you know K, if you know shapes and numbers,
okay,
yeah, you can probably do. But I mean, classroom management is like 90% of the battle.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
So, but there was a lot of backlash when I first started from like other parents, and it wasn't because I had no teaching experience or like experience with kids or anything. It was just because I was a dude. Just because I was a man, yeah.
Huh.
So a lot of parents left, but the ones that stayed I mean, dude, every year I'll have kids that skip kindergarten and go straight to first. This past year I had a kid who went straight to second grade. I mean, they all have they're on a reading level of like a 8-year-old by the time they get out of my class.
Wow.
They can tell you their ZYXs. They can tell you Newton's 3 laws of motion. They can tell you all 4 members of the Beatles. Like the parents that stayed, they're very glad that they stayed. And
Cool.
then
I've never heard of that. Like, that's a thing. With they just, is it because they were used to female teachers and that's what they wanted for their kids at that specific school?
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure. Well, that and then just the rap of like, just a dude that wants to hang out with kids all day. Like,
Sure, yeah.
Some people are.
Huh. Interesting.
Dumb.
Okay. So you're born in Costa Rica, is that right?
No, I'm from like south of Houston, like Lake Jackson. Yeah.
Okay,
I
okay.
moved to Costa Rica after college.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of just wanted to retire.
So you grew up in Houston.
Yeah.
So you started with music apparently.
Yeah. I'm from Lake Jackson, which is home of Selena,
Oh yeah. Okay.
Bucky's,
Oh, okay.
and Ron Paul.
That is quite
All
the
from
trio.
Lake Jackson.
That says a lot about
And
that.
Selena was like very. I mean, I got a huge portrait of
Yeah,
her.
I see her
here.
staring at me.
Yeah, she's looking down on all of us, and so I've always been a music guy, and then was in a very competitive like high school marching band, like huge.
What did
band.
you do in the band?
I played French horn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I played in college. I played French horn in college, but then I transferred to A&M, and then if you want to be in the band there, you have to be like basically in the military. You have to be in the Corps.
Oh.
So you have to like get your hair cut and wake up at 6 a.m. and do push-ups, and I'm like, I'm not doing that to play French horn.
Yeah.
So then I stopped in college, but my first year I was in San Antonio. I was actually in the San Antonio Symphony Orchestra. I was playing at UTSA, and but then I transferred to A&M and finished and graduated there. But while I was there, I linked up with 2 guys that I grew up with and went to high school with, Trevor Williams, Joey Bachicha, and they are incredible musicians. Joey's a guitarist. He got accepted to Juilliard and Berkeley, chose to go to A&M with his girlfriend, they're now married, so that's awesome. Joey, great bass player. Joey in high school, he made it a mission to learn every note of every Red Hot Chili Pepper song there was, just in case like Flea had a sick day or something. So and then I just started drumming for him. And we had like a little like kind of like Texas funk band, the ones that got away. Cover wise, we'd cover like Hendrix or like Stevie Ray Vaughan or something, but like we had some originals too. We recorded something,
Okay.
and then just did that for a while. We played for a while, all through school and after school, and the last time we played together, they were at my wedding. We got the band back together for my wedding. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So, okay, I mean, so then you're playing music, but then you're doing the teaching. I'm guessing you're making more money from the teaching than the music at that point.
I mean, it's always been a good balance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's always been a good balance because music up here was going good, and then music for like I was writing like plays and like musicals for like preschools.
Oh, wow.
And the one I got the brochure over there I'll show you the brochure. It was called Pink Floyd, or What Dreams May Come. And it took place in a dream. There was like the Sandman was there. I mean, it was very ambitious for like, these 5-6-year-olds. But there was like musical numbers. Like we did like Metallica, Enter Sandman, and we did, I think we did like a Weezer song, and it did so being able to get that play like around at different schools, it helped. Yeah, it was nice.
Interesting.
It was a nice little revenue source.
Okay, and so this is all pre-pandemic, and then I mean, when did comedy come into your life?
So I was dating a girl, and I guess maybe in like 2013 for my birthday, she got me improv classes at Dallas Comedy House, the old Dallas Comedy House. Me and her, like, tickets to go through all, like a 8-week course. You do a showcase at the end. And
just on a whim she got
just
this?
on a whim.
Didn't even bring it up before?
Nah, I never brought it up. But I think maybe she always sensed that, like, it would be, I always thought it would be fun. I was such a huge, like, Whose Line Is It Anyway fan, or, you know, like 30 Rock was huge for me. And so we went through those levels, and it was fun. And I found a good group there that we meshed with, and then we started performing outside of the class together. We would get booked on shows, and we were doing Heralds. You know Heralds,
yeah. Absolutely. Long form improv for those that don't know.
Yeah, you're basically writing, acting, and directing like a 3-act play on the spot.
Yeah.
And you're trying to kind of come up with like 3 distinct worlds, and then at the very last minute, you're like, oh, they're all in the same universe.
Right. Well, the way this was explained to me was the spirit of Harold will carry you out of the theater. And I was told that the reason that they invented the Herald was because like you're setting up jokes, and if it works at the end, they all knock down. And so instead of laughing, you roar. It's a roar. And so that was the whole point. Like that was what they were going for. Also, they created it all on peyote. I heard that story too.
Oh, really? Wow.
Like supposedly they could see the words like as they were saying them, and then they were making buildings out of them, and then somehow I don't exactly understand how that became the Herald, but that was the storyteller said.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So,
well, I like what you just said there about the turning the laughing into roar, because that like over the last few years I've been thinking about like how like my own personal comedy, like I'm trying to like write less like heady laughs, like, oh, that was clever, and more like belly laughs, where it's just like it hits and it's just louder and fuller.
Sure.
But it's exactly what you just said. Laughter, more of a roar, and then like,
yeah. Well, their formula for that is setting the jokes up. So like you're kind of telling half jokes a lot of the night, and at the end of the night, you just bring them all around, and that's where the roar comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a free tip for you.
I like that. I like that.
Okay, so you take the classes, you've got a group, you're performing, you're getting paid for these outside gigs, just kind of like it was cool to do a show somewhere else.
Well, I mean, we were mostly performing at like Dallas Comedy House, but we were like 4-day weekends sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
4-day weekend in Fort Worth. This was before the Dallas one opened up.
Gotcha.
But like, you're not making money as an improviser,
right?
Really.
Okay.
You know,
I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah,
I know 2 people that do. It's Dave and TJ. You know.
Oh yeah.
That's the only ones I know in the world that make
Mark
money.
Rebier to an extent.
Yeah. Okay. True.
We went and saw him at Red Rocks last year. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Oh, it was great.
Wow.
Great.
Yeah.
He's from Dallas too.
Oh yeah. I mean, I used to get bowls from Bowls and Tacos, and he was making them. He was working there. I didn't know who he was, and I was like, I know I've eaten many because I used to I love that place. But anyway, all right. Yeah. So then what happens?
So. You know, I do that for a year. So we go through all the levels. At the time, there was like 5 levels of improv, and we went through them all. And our group was, you know, we were fun. But then I got asked by Cameron Goldap. He was kind of putting together like another group of kind of who he thought of as like misfits, like in the improv scene, who were like kind of getting overlooked for weekend stuff. And he's like, I'm just gonna make like a all-star team of these like young people who are getting overlooked, and we're gonna like go and like infiltrate the weekends basically. And so we were called Battle Snakes. My other group was Trust Fall 5. I love Trust Fall 5. And then the new group was Battle Snakes. But then it was like what we were talking earlier, it was very much like, you know, they had their group of like 30 people, you know, and if you weren't in that group of 30, you really weren't getting weekend spots, you know.
It's pretty cliquey in that whole scene.
I know, and it's very, so, you know, when DCH like went under, like, and DCC took over, they were like, they put more of an emphasis on stand-up because they just realized that that's what pays the bills for one, and then, you know, more people go out to see that. And I liked it. I mean, I liked improv. It was always fun, but the thing about improv is it's only like, you know, only 25% of it is ever good, you know?
It's true.
So it's like...
It's a lot of frustration.
Yeah, for sure. But it's nice to have, like, a team there, because, like, when it goes bad, you can, like, commiserate with people.
Yeah,
you know, like,
sure.
Stand-up, if it goes bad, it's just all on you. Like, it's just very... But, so... And I still keep up with all my improv teammates, but then, so the girl that had signed us up for the class, went through the classes, we broke up. And... I was when I moved out, she had like all the internet and TV and stuff. So like I moved out and I moved into an own place, and I didn't have any of that. And I still had a flip phone that I had since the Bush administration. You know, so all I'm doing is like kind of manic depressively just like writing away. And I was just saying some stuff to like some of my improv teammates, and they were like, "Hey, that was pretty funny. Like, they do like open mics here, every now and then." I'm like, "What, really?" And so I was like, "Man, maybe I'll try stand up, So my first open mic, I remember the day, January 15th, 2015. It was a Thursday. It was at Backdoor Comedy Club in Richardson, Texas. It used to be, now it's in Richardson. It was at the old Backdoor, which was at the Doubletree Hotel off 75. And I did it once, and then I was just like, oh, I guess I'm one of these guys now. I guess this is what I do now. Yeah, it went well. So,
Yeah, it's funny because I've thought about doing stand up, and it just freaks me out. And I don't know, maybe one day, but it's interesting that like that's a leap to me.
Yeah. Well, you got to try something first that's like super low stakes and like.
Sure.
We run an open mic that's literally down here in this building, like this building right here that you're looking at. Down there is our open mic, and then the show that I invited you to last week is right across the street. You see that big, taller building, George 96 building. Right to the right of it is the Fillmore Pub. And
I know the Fillmore Pub.
Oh, you know the Fillmore?
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to shoot a lot of the downtown Plano events. My friend was like running them for a few years.
Oh,
so,
right on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that fish and
so
chips
you're familiar
is
with the area.
Great. Love
Yeah,
the
so
fish and
we
chips.
run a show there last Wednesdays of the month, and it's always standing room only. It's at capacity, and everybody's there for comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we should come out sometime.
Yeah. I got to take a pause because my early experience with stand-ups was I used to be in a band with Andy Dick, which the reason that I was in a band with Andy Dick was he didn't want to be on stage alone. That's literally all it was. But then we did a big show, and we had all these stand-ups helped us in this main show. And I just, my takeaway was they were all miserable people. Like they're making people, all they do all day. And granted, it was LA, so they were all in, I only do comedy. But I just felt like they were so always trying to make people laugh that they just didn't have any joy. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a fair share of those people. Yeah, for sure. But I don't think you have to be. I don't think there's a correlation between being sad and being funny,
No, it's not that that's not what it was. It was more about like I felt like they were draining all of their own personal joy from laughing or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, it is easy to get jaded.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get jaded, and things don't really make you laugh the same anymore.
Well,
but then you just kind of have to find like fresher ways to like, laugh at it, I guess. I don't know. You just got to kind of find different angles that could be funny.
Yeah.
When you're perceiving comedy,
Yeah.
Otherwise, we run in the scene, we see so many of the same comics all the time that, I can like mouth a lot of people's jokes as they're doing it,
Sure.
But, there's still, I mean, if it's a good night and the crowd is like really, and the performer's joy is coming across on stage, that's whenever like I'm gonna laugh no matter what.
Yeah.
You know? But when they're up there just like reciting jokes or presenting jokes, it's like
it gets old.
Their jadedness, I feel their jadedness. I take it on.
Sure.
But if they're up there joyful, like
I didn't even think about it like that. It's funny. I've had a life. I worked at the Improv in Chicago as a waiter. They had a restaurant for a minute. And I remember, I'm spacing out. What's his name? Used to be the weekend anchor all the time. Dennis Miller.
Oh, yeah.
And he came in.
Okay, bub.
Right. He came in and he did 3 nights. And the first night, I was like, wow, it's amazing how, like, he's got his material, but he's just kind of winging it. He's, like, coming off the cuff. And then the next 2 nights, he did it every beat exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there was no improvisation.
It's all by design.
Yeah, and I mean,
stumbling over words, the ums, the like making it seem. It's all
right. I guess for me, he was the best at it because like the next night, I knew what was coming up, and every one of them I still fell for because his delivery was so on. Anyway, okay, let's get back to you. You did this. Now you're stand up. So you did the one open mic. What happens next?
Well, I mean, just getting on stage as much as you can.
Yeah.
At one point I was probably getting on stage between like 10 to 15 times a week.
Wow.
So
like for like what, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Like how long?
Yeah, like when you're first starting, it's just 3 minutes, 5 minutes, it's wherever.
So you're just coming up with material and then you're like trying different things or like what was your process with that?
Yeah, like I mean, it's the same as it is now, where it's like I'm always, I kind of judge mics or shows at this point as being like not good or bad, but productive or unproductive.
Okay.
So even if I'm bringing the same material to like a different show or a different night, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm trying to play with the energy. I'm trying to play with the timing. I'm trying to play with spacing out words, raising my eyebrows differently. Like I'm trying to do something to kind of get some data on how to get the most meat off that particular bone of a joke, you know?
Gotcha.
So, yeah, so we're just bouncing around the city, bouncing around everywhere, just trying to get as much time as possible. And then I got kind of fortunate because I was about 6 months in to stand up, and Linda Stogner, who owns Backdoor Comedy, the late, great Jan Norton, it was an open mic there, a Thursday open mic, and it was during the summer. So I was like, yeah, like 6 months in. And it got so hot in that room sometimes that they would open the door and let some of the hot air out and get some air circulated in there. This particular night, there was a cricket made its way into the showroom because the door was open, and it was like it hopped onto the table like right in front of the stage. And I'm watching the comics go before me, and nobody's mentioning the cricket. So like I go up, and immediately I just start like, I'll tell a joke, and then after I get done with the punchline, I would just hold the microphone to the cricket, and it was just tearing the house down, dude. It was just, the comedy cosmos aligned that night.
Right.
They just like looked down on me. It was so perfect. Like a cricket was right there. Because these jokes are not good, because I'm still so new that I'm not telling funny jokes here.
Right.
So I'm just holding the microphone to the cricket as like a response. And it's killing. I mean, I've never had that. I probably will never kill like that again in my life. 6 months in, I'm always trying to recreate that feeling. But Linda and Jan, they saw me do it that night, and then Linda was like, "Hey, that was really funny. I want you to start coming here on the weekends and just seating people and working the light and working the front and just to get time. I'll give you 3 minutes of stage time like on the weekends. So now that's a paying audience. Now you're really, really like learning how to not just write a joke but perform a joke. Mm-hmm. Really, because I'm doing that Friday, Saturdays. So that's 3 like paying shows a weekend. That's from going from 6 months of doing open mics to immediately doing that. So I jumped at that opportunity, of course, but immediately there was like a lot of friction between me and Linda. Huh. And because I'm over here trying to do my jokes that I'm working on, and it's not what she saw, Right. And so she would we would leave a lot, like just like kind of yelling at each other, and I'd be like, Linda, why do you keep inviting me back then? Like it's. And she was like, well, why can't you just be as funny as you were that one night in the summer? And I'm like, when there was a cricket that came, I can never recreate that magic. What are you asking? But funny. She had my best interest in mind, and I owe a lot of my comedy brain and writing skills to what she teaches there. And because her club, she prides herself on being like the only like quote unquote clean club in the town. So, like a lot of comics, they kind of like look at that a certain way, and they're like, I'll never do Backdoor. And most of the comics who talk shit about it is because they're not getting booked there. Right. That's why. Because it takes a lot to be able to like, I like knowing like there's a box, and so now you know where the edge is. Sure. So now there's a clever way of being edgy, because you can actually and so. Yeah, so I owe a lot to Backdoor. So I started, working Backdoor then, and it's like my home club. Yeah, if I'm not like doing stuff in another club or another city or another state, I'm at Backdoor on the weekends.
I got a text from my ex recently saying that I was the coolest Indian she's ever been with. Now here's the thing about me. I'm not Indian. Okay, I'm Mexican. We got any Mexicans in here? Ice, here they are. Ice. I caught a lot of people off guard when I told them I was getting married. Mostly because it looks like I skateboarded here. But I'm the kind of person that dresses for the job I want. Okay? I thought my wife was a member of this group, QAnon. I walked in, I heard her on the phone with her mom. She was saying, oh, I just recently discovered QAnon. QAnon's been really good for me. I think you should give QAnon a try. I think QAnon could be good for you. And long story short, my wife just doesn't know how to pronounce quinoa.
So yeah, so I guess that's the life of a stand-up is you start touring and there's like a circuit, or how does that work?
Yeah, well, we're very lucky because here in Dallas, I mean, we have like 12 clubs in the DFW Metroplex.
Really?
Yeah.
12
So-
that'll pay, or just 12 that you can do?
Oh, 12 that'll pay, yeah.
Oh, wow.
12 paying clubs.
Okay.
So...
God, I had no idea. I'm glad I had you on because I got to start digging into that.
There's a
scene more.
really strong scene here.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good scene. So there's no shortage of like stage opportunity or there's a lot of reasons to get good here.
Okay. And so, I mean, like how, okay, so, but like so when you say tour though, are you leaving the state too? I mean, like, so like, is there a circuit for you guys from the theater, or is that sort of like you figure that out on your own, or?
Yeah, that's like, you know, that's all on your own.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like every man for himself.
How's that gone for you?
Oh, it's good. Like, I mean, I have enough connections, like, you know, that I can reach out to people and I can go, but I like it here a lot.
Right. There sounds like there's plenty here to do.
Yeah. So like, I mean, I can, like, I'm headlining the Addison Improv in 2 weeks, you know, like
And you sold that out before when you did that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's pretty impressive.
And then we almost had a second one, but the second time it was like there was a tornado that happened like at right around like 6:30 p.m. right around the time when everybody's getting in their car to come to the show.
That's the worst.
There was all the power went out in Addison. It was crazy. So we still ended up having like 60 people come out to that show, but it was like, I mean, they were lunatics. But,
Yeah.
But like, I mean, I right now, like, I mean, I wouldn't get that kind of treatment like in another city yet per se. So
I mean, that's why you're on the Dallas Famous podcast. It's the same for me. I can't get a photo pass in another city. I'm just Dallas. You know?
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, especially for you, like, as I lived in LA and tried and failed at what I was trying to do out there. And it's really important to get a fan base in your hometown before you do anything else.
Yeah, I think so too. Because then they're always gonna fuck with you. That's the thing about like growing up like in Houston. Houston has a very distinct like rap sound, and for that they have lifelong fans that will always fuck with them no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you'll have people who are doing shows. I mean, they're like in their 40s and 50s now, but they're still sold out because they're always repping Houston in their songs. They have a distinct Houston sound, and they're always gonna have a fan base there. They're always gonna have plenty of people and younger people listening to their stuff.
Totally.
You know, so.
Well, also there's a phenomenon we've talked about on this show where it's like you don't really get the success in Dallas till you go somewhere and come back with some success. But again, I feel like that starts with success here first, you know, because otherwise, I don't know. I mean, you have to have a foundation. That's the mistake
for
I made.
sure.
So, okay, so you have so many cool things on your resume. Maybe we should start digging into that. Let's go. Well, actually, I want to keep going on your career still before we mess around with this stuff. So then you have a live album, is that right?
Yeah, we recorded an album at Backdoor in 2019, and it was called Rebel Without Applause.
That's a great name, by the way.
Thanks.
Fantastic name. My
I was throwing it around as an improv name, but we didn't do it.
My wife was like, "That's a great name," right away. So,
yeah, I'm glad she liked it. Turned it into like physical CDs. Got it into a couple like record stores.
Oh wow, okay.
Like around the area, and got it on like Pandora and like Sirius XM, and
nice.
So that was nice too because that all happened right when the pandemic started. Like I got approved by like Pandora and stuff. So that was nice too because during the pandemic, like I had a little like extra like revenue stream.
Oh, cool.
You know, like it wasn't much, but you know, every now and then you'll get $40 sent to your PayPal account just because enough is,
That's nice. I just got 30 from Meta, and that was from December 23 till now, I've earned $30.
Oh, okay. There's a year,
It's
almost
been
a year and a half.
Yeah, just about. Yeah. Anyway,
Over a year and a half. Oh wow.
it's very lucrative. So
Yeah.
I highly recommend working your Facebook more. Okay, so let's go. Like, so you reached out to me because I'm blind to the comedy scene. Although now maybe I'll start to be more aware of it. But like, I was like, well, what else do you do? And so I'm just going to go down this list, and you can comment on or not. The first one was my dad was in a biker gang. Your dad was in a biker gang for real?
Yeah, I got this. One of my most recent tattoos was a picture. It's like one of the few times that my dad is like smiling, but it's him on his like ape hanger. That's my mom on the back. She's actually pregnant with me right there. But my dad, he's right there just giving the finger to the fucking camera right there.
We'll be getting a photo.
Yeah, they
of
called
that.
him Ape Hanger Anthony. That was his name.
Really?
Yeah.
Wild. Okay. And then skip that one. Okay. Okay, you were a finalist in the Funniest Comic in Dallas competition.
That was way back when.
Okay, you run the...
Ralph Barbosa won that one the next year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know Ralph?
We totally know Ralph.
Yeah.
I mean, not personally, but I know Ralph. You run the hottest comedy show in the city at Cowabunga Comedy.
Cowabunga, baby.
That's the one you're just talking about,
Mhm.
right? Okay. You used a Rubik's Cube to save your life in a gunfight?
That is very true, yeah. I got a collection of a lot of Rubik's Cubes.
Well, I mean, you got to tell us what that story is.
Yeah, I was coming home after a show, and, you know, I had a couple drinks in me. It's after midnight. I get home and park my car, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh, should I go let my dog out first and then check my mail? I'm like, no, I'll go check my mail first and then let out my dog. So I go check my mail, walking back to the courtyard. I'm looking at, okay, I got that bill here, you know. And all of a sudden, this guy, he comes up, and he's like, shh, 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 shh. And I'm like, oh, shit, he's holding a pistol at me, you know. Like,
Whoa.
And I'm like, whoa, and the instincts took over. And I was always taught that you, like, charge a gun and run away from a knife. So I just, like, went for the gun. I saw, like, a Steven Seagal video when I was, like, 9. So I went for the gun, was, like, wrestling the gun. A couple elbows to that, almost had control of the gun. But the guy, he had a secret weapon that I didn't account for. He had a friend. Yeah. So his friend came around the side and punched me right in the nose, knocked my glasses off. You know, I'm there like looking for my glasses, trying to find them, and you know, they're just like laughing over me. Finally, I'm there. I'm on my knees. I'm looking up in the window, like where my dog is sleeping, my wife is sleeping. I got a gun to my head, and the guy's like, "It doesn't have to be like this, man. All we need is your wallet. Just give us your wallet." And I just got like this new like bomber jacket. I was still like learning where all the pockets are. You know, I was like, I got this, you know, well, it's got to be here somewhere. But I always have a Rubik's Cube on me. So I was like, and then I just pulled it out, and I was like, I got a Rubik's Cube. Do you want a Rubik's Cube? And then I swear to God, no lie, the guy, he dropped me. He looked at his friend. He looked back at me, and he was like, I can't do this. He's like, I have a brother who's autistic too.
Oh my God. Wow.
And so brought a cube to a gunfight.
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, so they ended up just like stealing my mail.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got that's a good story.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Let's see. Your degenerate gambling made it to ESPN Hulu in the form of a half-hour Better Days episode.
Yeah.
So that's not a show I don't even know.
They had a show. I think it was on like, it's on Hulu. It was called Better Days, and they just took people's like gambling story. Do you remember that show Drunk History?
Yeah. It
was kind of like that, but you tell a gambling story, and then they have people like reenact it.
Oh.
You know, so they would cut to like the reenactment of it. So this was a story about like I still do. I put money on the Astros to win the World Series every year. And it's paid off twice. I don't care what people say. They've never asked for the money back. So, yeah. So this, so the first year that they won, I put $100 on them the year before, and they didn't win. They made it to the playoffs, but they didn't win. And then it was like 2017, and I put $100 on them, but I was on acid at the time, and I accidentally added another 0. So what was 100 was now $1,000 bet, and I don't have $1,000, so I'm like scrambling. And this is it was and I put these bets in like before spring training too, so
Right.
very early in the season. So it was a
Right.
long season for me.
Wow.
And so they and the Astros that year, they were 13-1 odds to win. So they made it all the way and they ended up winning. They beat the Dodgers, and so I got paid. And then the one of the producers for that show, it was like a production company in Nashville. She grew up with me in high school, and she knew about it, so she reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm producing this show for ESPN. It's called Better Days. I know this happened to you. Would you be interested in like coming and like meeting Mike Greenberg and telling him the story? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And it was like right when COVID happened too, that we went out there and filmed. So they flew me up to New York, put me in a hotel, had to get COVID tests. I thought the ESPN studios would be a lot like nicer. Like I thought they would be like how you remember like Nickelodeon was, like
Yeah.
or like how their commercials are. I thought like Dirk Nowitzki would just be like handing mail out to people.
Right,
Like
right.
LaDainian Tomlinson would be in a helmet somewhere. And it was like just some empty warehouse, like by a dock. I mean, it looked like the Sopranos episode.
That
or
was
something.
like the studio. That wasn't just a rented spot. That was the studio.
I don't. Well, I mean, I think so because we were out to New York, but then the hotel was out in Connecticut because it was like in
Oh.
Bristol, Connecticut. or
Right.
whatever.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So yeah, it was a fun experience.
I'm gonna
And,
check that out. That sounds good.
Yeah. So the episode was nice. It was like the longest episode that they did.
Oh, really?
And the guy that played me, he was this Indian kid. A lot of people don't know what I am ethnically a lot. Well, and he was like some 20-year-old NYU student. He reached out to me because he was like, oh, my girlfriend, she lives in DFW. I'm going to be in town. And it was like whenever the show was first coming out, it was premiering. And he was like, you want to watch it together? So he came over and we watched it together. I'm in there with my doppelganger. We're watching ourselves on TV for
wild.
the first time. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But he's a pretty funny comic, actually, also. He's out of New York. His name's Wyatt.
Cool. Okay. Right on.
Yeah, shout out Wyatt.
Let's see. I'm just gonna go through these really quick. Like you've done South by Southwest. You've done Paris Comedy Festival. That's interesting. How did that? come
Paris,
about?
Texas.
Paris, Texas. Okay. So the other thing is, I noticed that you're being funny in these lists too. I'm guessing you weren't Time Man of the Year 2016 for real. I'm just guessing that.
Do you know who the Time person of the year was
No.
for Time?
No. But I know
It was you.
it was me. I feel like
was-
I would have gotten an email about that.
No, it was you. The picture, it has you. Because YouTube had just come out.
Oh.
So, like, they were saying the person of the year is you. So it was a finger pointing at you. So
Oh.
whoever was they were the Time.
That's
They
ridiculous.
were the person of the year.
That's ridiculous. I mean, although I have to admit that's something that if I had come up with, I would have definitely put somewhere. Wait, what's this with the Guinness World Record organizer? Most people simultaneously reciting alphabet backwards.
Oh yeah. I told you all my preschool kids. Every kid that's been through my class can say the alphabet backwards. So this one particular year, we were having like our Halloween party, and I was like, let's get all the kids in a room together, and let's say our ZYXs, and let's set the Guinness record. Because I was like, I looked in the record, and there was a record for the most people saying the alphabet together simultaneously, but not for people saying it backwards simultaneously.
Right.
So it was me, and it was like 50 kids at the time,
Right.
and they're all in their like little Halloween costumes. We're like all crammed into a room. All their parents are there. We had to get 3 like witnesses to like sign stuff saying that they were like being objective and that they would, and so we did our CYXs and sent it out to Guinness, and have never heard back from them.
Yeah. Well,
So
I think
I'd like to say it's pending.
I feel like I've heard that you have to pay money for them to actually do it. Like even if you do the
I
record.
think you have to pay a lot of money
Yeah.
to get like one of their people out there to
Right.
do it, like in a suit and everything,
Okay.
and like have the thing ready for you. That costs a lot of money.
Right.
But if you just do it and it's like filmed and you have like 3 of the people, like you can send it. There's a little fee, and I paid it, but I just
Right.
never heard back from them.
That is-
I guess they don't care about kids.
Hey, if anybody works at Guinness or knows somebody who does, please check in on this for us. This is important.
Please.
These kids really need to be in this book. I mean, so Anyway, let's see. I don't know. I think that kind of covers this sheet. But what you have going? I know you have the show at the Addison Improv on the 18th, September 18th. What else is coming up in your future? What kind of ambition, like goals?
Well, yeah, the September 18th show, by the way, too. If you use the discount Cowabunga, $10 tickets.
Okay.
We're cutting the tickets in half for people because we love what's going on with the Cowabunga shows.
Cool.
We're really trying to turn our Cowabunga shows into something.
Okay.
So we've started like filming them and like miking, I get an audience mics, and all the money that we make goes back into the show, whether it's like production or like getting bigger name comics to like come out. A couple months ago, we had it was a whole group from the Comedy Mothership. They came up and they took over. So it was, so we're people around the country know about this particular show, and I have a lot of people hitting me up. So we're really just trying to kind of like turn this into something right now too. These Cowabunga shows, and if that means like maybe in the future, like if a space opens up and is like the right fit for us to have like a physical location, we might explore that. But I don't know, right now there's something just very romantic about these like indie alt punk rock comedy shows that it's very cool because they're like they're bigger than us. Like I go up there and I host them and I do time up top, but it's not about me, it's about the show. I'm trying to showcase. We have 3 comics and then a couple people, we have so many good comics here and everybody loves the show that they'll just come and hang out, and maybe the energy's like, hey, I could use some of your time, so I'm like, hey, can you go and do 5 minutes after this guy? We got to get the energy. But it's made for like 3 people at a time to really kind of stretch and do longer sets that they normally wouldn't be able to do like on a weekend or a club, because maybe they want to squeeze in some new material, but they don't want to do it like in a club in front of 300 people and the club owner there. They wanted something a little more low stakes.
What's like the capacity at that place when you're
the most I've ever counted in there was like 130.
Okay, so it's intimate.
Yeah, for sure. But on Wednesday I counted at least 50 people that came in and saw that there was no place to sit or stand and had to leave.
Oh wow.
So
wow. Okay, so it's doing well. You might have to move soon.
Yeah, and it's a free show. It's a completely free show too.
Okay. Well, I know we posted in the story, but we'll be sure to.
Well, we moved too because we used to be right down the street here at another place, and that place was seating like 60 when we first started, and we just learned very quickly that. I mean, we had people showing up. The show starts at 8. We had people showing up at like 5:30 to make sure that they could get a table because they were like, I missed the last 2 because I haven't been able to get a table. I'm not doing it now. Even this show, people show up at like 6:30.
Huh. That actually makes me, another question comes to mind. Like what is, because I mostly deal with music, so I know what the audience scene for music is. What's the audience scene for comedy out here? Like, was there like a big quest, like thirst for it? Is like if a big comic comes in, is that something people are going towards? Like what, to your perception
in DFW in general?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, this city is like, the whole Metroplex is just like growing at such a crazy rate. And I think in like 5 years, there's going to be like another like couple million people here,
Yeah, it's crazy.
So like just more and more people are moving here. And the cool thing about like a neighborhood like this is like it's so like densely populated. And all these people here, they just kind of want to walk downstairs for their entertainment. They don't really want to go out and drive. They want to keep it like locale, So what we were doing is actually we were going around to like other kind of historic neighborhoods like this, little artsy neighborhoods. And at one time we had 3 shows. We had one here, we had one in McKinney, and we had one in Garland. But the one in Garland, it was at a place called Intrinsic. I don't know if you know Intrinsic. It's like in downtown Garland in the square. And they just like, it's like an area like this too. It's like historic, and they just put all this money into the new square. They had Leanne Rimes come out and do like a ribbon cutting ceremony.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, it's the people there want artsy things to do. They want like cool things to do. But that particular venue was outside. It was like an outside thing.
Oh.
It was beautiful, but like it's just hell in the summer.
Yeah, in the winter it's too cold. So
yeah, so we might go back and revisit in the fall maybe. I don't know. And then the one in McKinney, we were kind of just doing as a favor to the bar owner. It was like our second location, and he kind of just wanted us to basically recreate the magic that we have here over there. But it was in like this newly kind of developed area, and, you know, the all the shops were new, the apartments were new. I don't even think people knew that restaurant existed who lived there.
Right.
You know, so we ended up kind of like pulling that show just because it was kind of sullying the Cowabunga name also.
Sure.
And you don't want to get a bad rep in the scene of like other comics being like, that one show, it's not as good as this show, you know?
Yeah.
You want them all, I have such deep respect for the comics in this scene. I want them all to have like great experiences, you know? So we're like, you know what, let's just focus all of our attention in this neighborhood right now. And so I think we might add a second show here too, because the you know, I polled everybody on Wednesday, and when I was on stage closing the show down, I was like, hey, do you guys what do you think about a second show here? And they were like, yeah, let's do it. So I think there is a demand for it,
Right.
you know. We just kind of got to figure out the logistics of it.
It's smart. I mean, obviously you live here, so you know the needs of this neighborhood, but that's super convenient to just have it that close and to like, you know, like, I don't know, there's probably something to that the people know you're part of this neighborhood, you know.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's not just me, it's me and my wife. She does all the art for it and like all the, you know, Instagram like promo stuff. That's all her. And she's at the she's taking all the photos for it, all the stage shots, all the behind the scenes shots. She's doing that. Her brother is like a really good videographer. He takes all the video for us.
Oh, wow.
We got a sound guy who like is a, you know, a wizard. He's got a great mixer. He's got this great like setup where he can just, if you've been done to a Cowabunga show before, he can just type your name in, save your settings on the microphone, and then when you come back again like 6 months, he just hits your button and it just immediately adjusts to like what you. And then my boy Niaz, me and him like started it. Niaz, he also lives in the neighborhood.
What's his last name?
Niaz Shabazi. He's a comic also. And then we have an intern. We have like a kid that just loves being around the shows, and he's not a comic. He's just like a big fan of what we do. So he helps us set up the stage, and break everything down and makes everything go smoothly. And just this 18-year-old intern
Nice.
just likes to be around. So we got a nice team. We got a good group, and I think there's bigger things to come.
Right.
From
And what about you, like specifically, like you're like, what's your next move? Is it focusing on this? Are you like, I mean, you know, you got the shows, or you're always going to be doing your shows as well.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to always just to get funnier. You know, that's. I think if you focus on being funny, then opportunities kind of present themselves at a more frequent rate. You know, because people can trust you, and so I've lately been doing more like hour-long sets. So just really, really like kind of just polishing like some long form stuff.
Wow,
and,
that's a lot.
yeah. But I mean, it's my when I recorded my first album, that was like 45 minutes, and that took me, you know, probably, I guess 4 years of comedy to like get to that point.
Wow, yeah.
And so now it's been maybe like another 4 or 5 years, and it's none of the same jokes, you know.
Sure.
And I know some people they you know, like a Louis C.K. or like a George Carlin, they're doing like an hour every year, and that's just like.
But they have writers too, though. They're not doing all the jokes themselves. I would think.
I think some of them probably do.
I mean, I knew Dennis Miller did, but
Dennis Miller, yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I think some of those Saturday Night Live guys.
yeah, they meet the
Definitely.
writers and they get their guy, and then that just
Yeah,
does all
yeah,
their
yeah.
stuff.
Well, because I mean, if they're like stakes are so high for them, they can't afford to like go out and just like bomb with it. But I know I know guys here that used to sell jokes to like Ron White, as you know, the other comics. Yeah, I guess my goals are just like maybe doing like more long form stuff, more long, you know, like doing, yeah, like I did a Don't Tell comedy show last night, and that was 15 minutes, and that's good, and that's about average, like what at a time you can work out. So whenever you can get a opportunity to do like a half hour or like 45 minutes or an hour. Dude, I was in a bowling alley in Terrell, Texas 2 weeks ago because my career is killing it. But I got to do an hour, you know, so
Yeah.
I just got to like work stuff. But the thing about that was I did like 5 minutes of jokes up top. I had a host, Niaz hosted for me, Emily Griefer featured. But I did like 5 minutes of jokes and then immediately was just like, oh, these people don't want jokes. So I had to do crowd work the whole time, just talk with it. And I hate crowd work.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. Like, I have a tendency to go mean sometimes. So the whole time in the back of my head, I was just like, don't be mean, don't be mean. And yeah, I did like 51 minutes of crowd work of just.
Does that frustrate you though? Because you have to do that when you're on stage. But then if you had a goal of like working through certain material.
Yeah, it did at first. But then, like how I was saying earlier, like I was trying to figure out, okay, so what was productive about it? Well, I've never done that much crowd work in my life. And it managed to be funny because it was like, you know, we had maybe like 50 people out there. You know, you got to improv skills came in. Improv is the art of listening, you know. Mm-hmm. So I'm using what they're giving me, and then like later using it as a callback, and then it's just like some like cheat codes like that, you know. So bring up this guy's, you know, ex again. The whole place. I mean, it's hacky. Yeah. But it's like it's spur of the moment. It will never exist ever again, only in that moment, and that's why people laugh and respond to it because there's something a little bit more, like I don't know, frenetic about it.
Yeah,
you
like
know,
they're like getting the only like time this is going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Unique
exactly.
experience. Yeah.
So I think people responded to that. So you know, use a couple callbacks, ended on a callback, had a couple through lines weaved through the whole way. So I was like, okay, so it was productive. Yeah. Like I didn't get to work on anything I wanted to, but like I challenged myself, you know, and I've never done that much.
You know, that's good to know. Because now you're like, I can take on any room because that was probably the last thing.
A bowling alley in Terrell, Texas.
Yeah, well, you know, like you said, you know, you've worked very hard to get to this point, you know. So anyway, I'm glad you reached out. This has been fun. I definitely will be checking out some comedy. I hope everybody in the audience does.
Oh, I'll get you on my guest list. You can come up to the Addison show if you want.
Yeah. Okay, I'll look at that. I forget. Like I'm booked out for months and months. I got to see. Okay. But if I'm not doing anything, I'd like to go. I actually haven't been to the Addison Improv before.
It's like the A club in town.
Yeah, that I knew. I just, you know, I'm trying to think. I think I've only ever been to like an open mic at the old Dallas Comedy place.
The Dallas Comedy House?
Yeah.
Well, they've had 3 locations of it. Which one?
It was the last one before they went under.
So like the current one right now?
The one that, like, well, no. I mean,
the one that's now Terry Black's Barbecue?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just went once, and I think I went, Dante. I'm friends with Dante Martinez. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They used to live above Goodnight Ned guys, the band, and so I would hang out with all of them. So.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
He's done one of our Cowabunga shows before.
Yeah. Well, I want him on this show too, but you beat me into it. So. But anyway, hey, it's been great. We'll look out for all your stuff, and thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate you.
I'd like to thank my guest, Vinnie Corrales. You can catch him all over town doing comedy, but the big show is at the Addison Improv on September 18th. You can use the code word Cowabunga to get a discount. You can also go to the Cowabunga Comedy Show held at the Gilmore Pub in Plano every Wednesday. You can check the show notes for all those links. Get your own Dallas Famous Podcast t-shirt. The link is now available in the show notes. Thank you again to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record there. Theme song, Unstoppable by Salim Nuralla. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff, and share it with your friends. We'll see you next time.